guys successfully slew the monster of Milik. Congratulations again. It was a hybrid beast bred by the mage Ozai, who had used it as a test at the behest of the Duke of Gorsvelen, whose name is Caspis. Now, Caspis didn't necessarily authorize a deadly beast, and so Ozai kind of stepped in and did this of his own volition, and you guys managed to convince Duke Caspis that that wasn't cool, and Duke Caspis sent Ozai.
Hello, everyone. I'm coming directly to you for asking
what are you doing?
favor.
It's Joe Biden.
Okay.
Sorry.
Can you just like turn the sound off?
I
on
did,
that?
Michael.
Okay.
Leave me alone.
You brought Joe Biden into the Witcher world. You leave me alone.
It's an accident.
So, I apologize. So you guys kind of had Ozai sent away to await his punishment at the hands of Caspis. And then Caspis told you his story. Now, he explained that the city of Gorsvelen is at the confluence of many channels of magical artifacts, and that over the last few months, it's been experiencing an increasing number of disappearances. At this point, dozens and dozens of young girls specifically have been disappearing from the city, and no one knows who's perpetrating these acts or why. But Caspis's own daughter, Camilla, was stolen under mysterious circumstances, and he pointed out a few things. One, that she was protected by two distinct mages, one being Caspis and the other being a stranger named Martin of Vengerberg. So two separate people were protecting her with magic spells, plus all of his armed guards. And somehow she still disappeared, which indicates coordinated action, maybe an inside person, and definitely the use of magical artifacts. Now, to his best guess, this means that the black market of magic was involved. So whoever's perpetrating these crimes most likely got magical artifacts from this black market of magic and used them to kidnap his daughter and potentially many others. He doesn't necessarily trust anyone on his inside circle anymore because he's convinced that there's an inside man or inside woman, and so his covert agents, he doesn't believe are able to infiltrate the Arcanium to learn more and potentially stop the flow of these contraband magic items, but also find out where his daughter is and rescue her. So he had his top dog, his mage Ozai, set a test to find people who might be able to finish this task for him. And that is how he came up with the 7 of you. So it is now, you basically completed the Monster of Milik in one day in the Witcher universe. So you guys arrived in Milik kind of early in the day. This was all happening. By the time you guys were done, it was nighttime, and it's now the next morning. I'll explain to you what happens, but first I want to give you a little background on the lore of the magic governing bodies, because I think it's going to be important for what happens next. So in the Witcher world, magic and magic users are governed by a couple different bodies. The main body is called the Conclave, and that is basically an allegiance of powerful mages that passes legislation and oversees all magic users on the continent. And there's also I believe it's called a Supreme Council, and they are kind of a distinct entity that more specially governs experimentation and kind of pushing the boundaries of magic. So not necessarily all magic users, but magic users that are pushing. Jesse might be correcting me here because the lore gets a little fuzzy depending on when in the timeline you're talking about. But as of now, the Conclave is still active, as is the Supreme Council. Jesse, you can just pipe in and say something if you wanted to add to the lore.
I'm wondering if his mic cut out again.
Okay. He's coming back.
Now?
Yep.
All right, sorry about that. Yeah, so like within the like the conclave, there's like this 5-person body called the chapter, which is like the 5 like oldest or most special magic users who are like the ultimate authority, and then another 5-person body below them, which together then forms like the chapter. So you have like an inner council and then like a more general governing council, but they're the ones who sort of call the shots with the like basically the mages union, as it were.
So it's kind of tough because the lore differentiates a little bit whether you're looking at the video games or the books or even the TV show. So the salient part of this information, and thank you, Jesse, the salient part of this information is that there is a ruling board that governs all of these magic users, and in general they are going to look out for their own before they really care about the common person. And so there have been some kind of maybe nefarious experimentations perpetrated by mages that may have been forgiven by the conclave, depending on how high that ranked up mages. But mages protect their own, and mage on mage violence probably is not condoned by the conclave. And so just for your specific context, Madison or Phyrra, as a graduate of Aretuza and someone who is practicing magic, you would be under the governance of the conclave, as would Garzai and any other mage that you come across. Witchers are not under this umbrella of influence. Witchers are not governed by the conclave.
Oh yeah, we're our own thing.
Yes, you are your own thing. You're beholden to your own codes. So I also want to remind you guys of the lore that I kind of imposed on you, depending on how much you guys want to role play this out or have this continue. But I kind of put it on you to bring you all together for the Monster of Milik, but I think some of it fits in with your backgrounds, and so I'd like, and it's completely up to you guys, but I'd like for you guys to continue to drum it up as you're role playing based off of your old relationships with each other and your burgeoning relationships with the new players. And so I think it's important to note again, and you guys have kind of already played this up, is that Phyrra and Zoe know each other from childhood, from growing up in Dol Blathana. Minka, who is absent right now, but Minka and Jesse have a unspoken past together. We haven't explored how they got to know each other, but whatever happened, it forged an extremely strong bond between them. It seems that Beetlejuice is fairly popular with a lot of people, but he and Minka share a really strong bond, and she was actually trying to smuggle him out of the north when all of this started, but things got a little sidetracked because everyone has their own ambitions and whatnot. Mike, as of right now, your relations to other players really are limited to how you've met them on the road to Milik and your adventures thereof. And then Sarah Lynn and Christopher, I think you guys have a pretty good grasp of how you guys ended up together. You guys have been kind of role playing that off. So
yeah.
Okay, so morning breaks over the trees. You guys are still in the camp of Duke Caspis, maybe a couple miles outside the town of Milik, many miles south of the city of Gorsvelen. It's a muggy afternoon, or sorry, not muggy afternoon. It's a muggy morning. See, this is what having a baby and no sleep does to you. It's a muggy morning. Jesse is still recovering from his part in the battle against the monster of Milik. He cast a poisoning spell that weakened him somewhat, so he is still a little bit in need of recovery after a night's sleep, but he's certainly able to function. He's just a little worn out, Another night's rest and he'll be completely patched up, but he's definitely needs to kind of take it easy on this day of recovery.
Real quick, I mean, should I then, because I was reviewing the healing rules, should I abide by this, like, healing by number of HP equal to your rec stat each day?
Each
As
day
we-
you have a good night's sleep. Yeah. So this night you got a good night's sleep, and every night after that. But if you have a crazy, if for some reason you have like a drunken bender tonight, you're not going to be healing the rest of your HP.
Right.
You're just going to be in stasis. So
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
same goes for
do that
stamina
math.
recovery. If you guys are, if the battle took a lot of stamina out of you, you guys aren't going to recover stamina by continuing to run around and be crazy. You'll have to take it easy a little bit.
Math.
Other than that, everyone is feeling pretty confident after their triumph over the monster. So right now, everyone's in their own tents. The Duke has afforded you that much. He's asked that you all
Hey there, Phyrra.
meet him in his command tent so he can
Playing some
review
D&D
the
tonight?
mission. But I'll leave
How are
it
you
to
doing?
you guys what you do next. So you guys are all in your own tents, and the Duke is awaiting you in his tent for planning.
I guess I'll go and visit Zoe and be like, yo, let's go get the others.
All right, let's go.
Vroom
Best
vroom.
friend. Doop-a-doop-a-doop.
And then we talk about the things that I'm going to say to Garzai in public to make him feel like a dick.
You really lead into this shame power. This is great.
That's my mom guilt, man. I'm going to make him feel it.
No shame in hiding from work. I get
I'll
it.
say I think Beetlejuice is sat up early with his like druidic text or like holy book there.
Work
He's
is a
had
lot.
a little bit of a come to Jesus moment after like seeing that Frankenstein kind of creature the other night. So he's a little shook and kind of going back to his his roots.
Is Beetlejuice out in public? Because I want to make a comment.
Well, everyone's still in their tents at this point, except for you guys who are.
Sure, I'll say he's gotten up like kind of with the sunrise there and has sat out by the edge of the woods with his book and his druid stuff.
I yell over, BG, I didn't know you could read.
I'm full of surprises.
Sort of like wander out of my tent, like wondering what's going on and getting ready for the day.
Yeah. Riggs is already up, carrying to his swords.
May I remind Riggs that up until this point, I'll be honest, I forgot about Mittens, your horse, and so I'll say that you took him back after you slew the monster. You got him and his tack and took him with you on your way to the camp, but Mittens is with you now.
Oh yeah, Mittens the horse, baby.
-1 to the GM.
I go and pat Mittens on the head.
Hey, Mittens is not a pet. This is a trusty horse.
Horse
It does
that
its
you
job.
named Mittens.
Nobody
Hey.
touch Mittens.
That name has importance to me.
Truly a fearsome
Watch it.
steed.
Pat the horse on the head again.
He'll grumble and then go back to like oiling his swords.
You owe me for one of those oils. You owe me a favor, big guy. And she nudges him in the side playfully.
Hmm.
Don't mind him. He really does warm up to people the longer you spend time with him.
Just like Beetlejuice and his liquor.
So this game is actually set in the
I
Witcher
think He
universe.
just kind of raises a flask up from,
We're
like,
using
the side of
rules
the stuff
specifically
he's sitting down
called the Witcher TRPG.
having whatever the equivalent of like a Skellige, Irish coffee is.
Probably just Irish coffee.
There's just no coffee. It's just whiskey.
I guess I
It
should
is
have
super
wake up
cool.
at this point, so I'll stagger out of my tent.
I am the Witcher, Riggs of Redania. One of our party members is a bard who plays
Zoe, where did you
exclusively Titanic music.
Is everyone awake?
We are now, I guess.
Let's go deal with this stupid quest.
So before you guys converge on the tent, Duke Caspis has heard the sound of a pan flute alarm and kind of wanders out of his tent looking a little bit confused and sees his ragged champions, one of whom is whimsically playing a pan flute.
Thanks, Weira.
And he
Thank you for the lurk. Have
he
a good
can't
night.
help but smile a little bit. I think he's taking a liking to you guys despite himself.
Good morning, Your Excellency.
Good morning to you all. I'm glad to see you're all awake. Well, most of you. He looks around for Iroh and doesn't see him. He says, "Please join me at your leisure. It's time that we talk about what comes next."
I guess I'll follow him to his wherever we're meeting, in his tent or whatever.
Yep.
Is everyone's inside?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this morning you noticed that the Duke looks better than he did last night. It looks like he's combed his hair and maybe even trimmed his beard a little bit. He still looks exhausted, but compared to how you saw him yesterday, he looks like he has a little bit more hope. He has arrayed 7 cups full of dark liquid, which you assume is coffee, and there is where there's the same table that was in the middle of the tent last night is now clear of all clutter except for a single map which has been splayed out across the width of the table, and he beckons you around. He points first to the drink and he says, "The finest Temerian coffee." Well, I can't say it's Temerian. We actually had it shipped in from the south of Nilfgaard. You'd be surprised how much trade continues on with a country you're at war with. But it is the finest coffee, in my opinion, in the world. So I hope you appreciate it because it's quite a delicacy.
Mm.
I'll raise my glass, take a sip, kind of ponder it, and then pour in a splash of whiskey.
I chug it.
I sip it.
So the first matter at hand, my mage, Garzai. I want you to know there seems to be some misgivings yesterday, and much of that is at his feet. I've banished him from my service for the time being. I've sent him back to Ban Ard, where he trained to receive with the local conclave members there. I'm not sure what will come of this. He looks to Phyrra, and he says, I have a message. He says, I apologize, but you know very well that most likely there will be no reprimands or no punitive action taken, but I hope that this symbolic step will help grow trust, foster trust between you and I.
I nod.
Mm.
Now, despite his immorality in action, he has my utmost confidence in loyalty, and I don't distrust him for anything else, and so I don't hold him accountable for the disappearances in any way. I would like to say I rule that out, but as of late, I'm not sure who I can trust, and so there's a lot of ground to cover, and I think we should get right down to it. And so he walks over to the map. This is a map of my city, a map of Gorsvelen. As you can see, it's pretty sprawling. There's a lot of ground to cover. Now, I have men posted throughout the streets that they're armed men, they're good men, and I will send the various captains of the districts descriptions of you to make sure that these men don't impede your duties anywhat. As long as you all stay within the confines of the law, you don't have to worry about trouble from them. I've also closed off the confines of my castle. Any servants that were in there as of a week ago are not allowed to leave. I figure that whoever betrayed me is probably in their midst, and so I'm keeping them with me for the time being. Perhaps there will be time for you to go and question them, but as I have them locked down, I think there's more urgent business to attend to. Now, Gorsvalen is full of magic users and magical artifacts, so it's hard for me to tell you where to start looking. But I find the best place to start looking is to talk to the people. That's what I had my agents doing before they were betrayed and before they were burned and outed. And now all of my agents are back behind my castle walls for safety. Typically, I find the best place to get information is at the local pub, and he kind of smirks and throws a look over to Beetlejuice, who is, drinking his spiked coffee. As I'm sure most of you are aware, this is where information passes through, and illicit magical information is no different. On this map, I've pointed out 5 of the largest inns and taverns across my city, the places where, if there is an operative of the Arcanium anywhere, you're likely to find them here. Now, not exclusively here, mind you. It's a large city and I can't cover every inch of it, but these are as good a places I can tell you to start as any. So he points to where's scrawled in number 1. This is the Silver Heron, perhaps the finest inn in all of Temeria, and certainly Gorsvalen's most famous. The barkeeper, his name is Temerian. He's a friend of mine. He should help you, although he keeps his clientele reputable, and I'm not sure how many shifty agents are going through, if you get my meaning, but it's never a bad idea to talk to a man as connected and friendly as Temerian. The town hall district is generally reserved for visitors and low-level diplomats, so it's well, reputable, may I say. He points to number 2. This is the unlaced corset. Now, I don't necessarily condone, he kind of scratches his neck and blushes, companionship in my city, but it keeps the sailors in and it keeps business flowing. And so there are such establishments closer to the waterfront, farther away from where the noblemen live and operate. Now, the unlaced corset is undoubtedly the most popular from what I hear. I can't say that I've ever taken my patronage there, nor any in my staff, I would hope. But if you feel the need to go lurking in such places, the unlaced corset is a good place to start. Now, number 3, he points out, is in the Castle District. The Castle District is home to our richest nobles, all of our highest level diplomats, and many of our ambassadors to other countries across the continent. This is home to the Saffron and Pepper. This is may I say, a high-end establishment, not quite as accessible and world famous as the Silver Heron, but some of the finest wines and foods from across the land you will find at the Saffron and Pepper, and perhaps information as well. It's been ages since I've been, but I will say I do enjoy their selection of wine. He looks a little wistful. Now, number 4, he points out at the edge of the water. This is where, for my money, you're most likely to find some interesting information. However, it's most likely the most dangerous of all the places. This is the Kairin's Clutch. It is, may I find the word for it, the least reputable inn in my city. I've tried to have it shut down legally on many occasions, but the people that run it know the law inside and out because they are frequently law breakers, and so they must know the law. It's home to the worst kinds of scoundrels and scallywags, and I personally would avoid it, but in terms of finding illicit information and illicit deals, I can think of no better a place. Getting in there might be a problem, but there are ways of getting yourself in, and I'm sure you'll figure those out. And he kind of glances at Minka, who has been quiet this time, but Minka, who has the look of maybe someone a little shadier, his eye trails on her for a second. And then the last, in the non-human district. This is the House of Luana. She is perhaps the most influential non-human in all of Temeria. She's done more for human and non-human relations than most I can think of, myself included, I'm sad to say. Now, while I pride myself on having a tolerant city, I can't control everyone, and so I'd say to those of you, and he looks over at Zoe, Phyrra, and then his eyes go to Iroh as well, be on your guard. There are not always those as tolerant as I or others, and the city isn't always a safe place for non-humans. In the non-human district, I'd advise the rest of you to be on your guard. Because of the tensions rising out of the war, non-human folk aren't always so keen to have humans wandering around their district. There's nothing I can do about this tension. It simply is the way it is, and certainly is exacerbated after the war. And so those are the 5 largest inns and taverns across my city. Now, there are more. Perhaps you'll stumble across them and find additional information there, but that's the best lead that I can give you. Now, in addition to that, here, and he points to districts south of the water, this is the Merchants District, home of almost all of the shops in my city, including those that sell legal, by-the-books magic, as well as everything else. There may be some back alley dealings in the Merchant District, particularly concerning the magic shops. None that I'm overtly aware of, but then again, much is able to get by all of our noses. That's the reason that we're in this situation in the first place. I thought I had a lockdown on my city, but clearly I was wrong. While I clean it up, we're going to have to deal in the shadows and find out what's going on, and that's why I need you. So, are there any questions?
I think so.
Nope.
The other mage in your service, Martin of Vengerberg, does he remain at the castle?
Indeed, yes, he remains at the castle along with the other guards. He seems rankled by this a bit. No mage likes to live in chains, but he's loyal as well, and he's given his word that he'll sit tight until I give him the order otherwise.
Do any of these pubs tend to gamble?
The Duke laughs. Why, I'd imagine all of them, wherever there are men drinking, there are men gambling, and wherever there's a pub, there are men drinking. So, yes, Master Dwarf, I'd imagine there is gambling in these pubs.
Ew.
Farewell. Will you be returning to the city or staying out in the field?
Oh, I would prefer not to be staying in this little town any longer. He almost kind of felt like he was going to say the word dreadful, but he didn't at the last second. Me and my men will accompany you back to the city and make sure there's no problems getting at the gate, where I will then return to the castle where I can continue to govern my city and command my men and give you whatever resources you require. But at the time, the best I can give you is safe passage into the city and all of the information that I know.
Works
Very
for
well.
me.
Yeah.
All right. If that's all, then I say we disembark and go to the city as quickly as possible. Every second we waste is chance that more innocent lives will disappear and perhaps be changed or lost forever. And he nods, and you take that as your dismissal. And he kind of begins pack. He calls some armed guards in, and they start helping him pack up his belongings. And
so I'll head out and start packing up my tent and gear as well.
Yeah, I'll do the same. Get all my stuff loaded up on mittens.
Yeah, I'll get loaded up.
I guess I'll follow suit. I'm actually going to walk with Beetlejuice for a minute. As a man with pretty heavy pockets at this point and a gambling addiction, but not much for conversation, I was wondering if I could use some help in these times.
Certainly, friend.
Thinking maybe the two of us should head to one of these pubs together. Maybe with my coin and gambling and your conversation, we might be able to find something out.
Good call. Good call. My first thought was to speak with this other mage first, but get his take on the situation. But I think certainly a full person, some a slightly inebriated new friends at an inn would open some pathways.
Works for me.
Just have like a shit-eating grin on it. Glad we put that little misunderstanding of the money behind us.
Me as well.
Oh, so did Jesse? Did you pay him back the coin, or are you guys resolving it without payment?
I'm gonna pay him back. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna. Yeah. We'll resolve that. He's just gonna I guess he'll count out the coins, put them in a little baggie, hand them off, and go. A Skelliger always pays his debts, unless he doesn't, in which case he flees the country. But gives him the bag, shakes his hand, and keeps carries on.
There's a good lad.
Pardon to disrail it, but out of curiosity, Clupp, I know we were talking about the imposed lore. That other large outstanding debt that I have, is that safe to assume that is related to some organization in Novigrad?
It's definitely related to an organization in Novigrad. I'm not going to tell you that it's limited to Novigrad.
Okay. Yeah, just curious. All good. So I guess everyone's packing at that point?
Yeah. As you guys are packing, Duke Caspus is going to find his way to Riggs' tent and beckon him over for a private word.
Yes.
Witcher, it's been a long time since I've met one of your kind.
There aren't many of us left.
As I'm very aware, and as are the people of my city. Now, it's one thing to foster hatred for non-humans, but non-humans are still quite common. Witchers are not. I'm concerned for your safety most of all. Not that I think you can't handle yourself in a brawl, but you might find yourself the subject of more scrutiny than most. And so I bid you caution in your quest. And I thank you again. I know this is not necessarily to Witcher's code, but I promise you that you will receive the coin that you are promised, and perhaps, who knows, maybe you'll find a monster contract or two on the way. I keep my city clean, but no city is without its monsters.
I will judge for myself the state of the city.
Very well. Carry on as you were. All right, so it takes you guys. It doesn't take you super long to pack. Most of you guys didn't have very much with you, but the Duke takes about an hour to have his men clear up the camp, put everything on their horses, get saddled up, and he even allows you all to borrow horses to ride to Gord's Velen, not to keep, but for transportation. Otherwise, the trip would be far too long. And so you all set out north towards Gord's Velen. I'll let you guys decide whether or not you want to have any conversations along the way or just bask in your victory. It's about on horseback. It's about a 3-hour ride, so you guys have a little bit of time after.
I complain to just Zoe loud enough to where no one else can hear me. Man, I'm so pissed I didn't get to shame Garza. Stupid Caspian over here thinks he trusts him. I don't trust him though.
Our elfie senses and kind of see how things play out. But there's a lot of coin in this for us, so think of the adventures we could have.
Ugh.
And speaking of strategery, if you want, maybe we can check with the group, but might not hurt if you and I head to the area of town that doesn't hate elves to see what we can find out.
I agree. And you can play your pan flute and entertain people, as always.
As a reminder, Madison, I meant to mention this earlier, but I'll allow you to take what you will now. This is a couple months out from the Battle of Sodden Hill, which was won specifically by mages, and at this point the magic body is kind of getting ready to meet up again in the aftermath of all of this, but there are a decent amount of mages that are starting to converge on Gorsvelen at this time, and where you went to school, Aretuza, isn't too far outside of Gorsvelen. If at any point in time you wish to kind of take a pause and go and visit the people of Gorsvelen, as that was kind of what you came down here to do in the first place, you're more than welcome to do that. Just make it known to your group that's your intention. But that is an option for you, and of course you could always bring others with you. They might not be allowed to enter in, but it just depends on what you think your character would prioritize at this point.
Okay. So I talk about Aretuza and how I want to find out what's going on there because they might be able to help me out. Talking to my girl Z.
Well, if the time comes, you let me know, and I'm happy to go with you. Or you can go on your lonesome. But
you might have to wait outside, but it's okay. You're used to that.
I guess I'm still hanging back with Iroh on the horses, just swapping like tavern stories. So, how did you find yourself so far from the mountains?
Different debts and just the same old chasing some more money.
You cut out there, bud.
Oh, sorry. I said chasing different debts and just looking for more ways to spend my money.
I'll drink to that, and he's just gonna pull out like another flask and like toss it over to Iroh on the horse.
I'll try to down it in one gulp.
Ooh, baby boy. He's just cackling.
I sort of like talk to Riggs, and I am like sort of like, I'm thinking maybe the unlaced corset might have a lot of the answers we need. But
you're kind of cutting out there. Can you repeat?
Yeah, sure. Sorry. I think the unlaced corset is like where we gotta go. Where we gotta go, because if you're thinking like all these young girls disappearing, maybe they'd like have like an ear to the street to like hear about.
I'm proud of you, Adelina. That is exactly what I was going to suggest.
sure it was.
I think it's as soon as like I hear the unlaced corset, his ears just perk right up. I agree.
All right, so you guys are nearing the city now. As you come over the crest of a hill, and the city of Gorsvelen is laid out upon you. It is, plainly said, quite a beautiful city. It's built on the bones of elven architecture. Gorsvelen means actually, I'm not sure what it means in the ancient speech, but it means something in the ancient speech. And there's many high-spired buildings between all of the other, regular constructions. The houses are pretty close together and built in the kind of classic Eastern European medieval style. If you want an idea of what the port part might look like, that's the picture I posted to get your minds on what part of the city might look like. The the castle is soaring, many parapets and high towers soaring over the walls, which themselves look pretty formidable. And the Duke smiles as you guys crest the hill and says, "Welcome to my city of Gorsvelen."
Sorry, I must have missed it. Which direction are we coming from?
You guys are coming from the south, so you guys are arriving at the south gate.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Gotcha.
So, as you guys wander down the hill to the gates of the city, he and his retinue pull you. He pulls you aside as his retinue starts to shuffle into the city, and he looks you over and he briefly recaps what he told you before and emphasizes how much this means to him personally and to the city and also to Temeria. And he says, "Well, I can't tell you how to go about your business. This is your mission. You guys passed Garzai's tests for a reason. Clearly, you're capable and focused and single-minded. But it is a big city, and there's a lot of ground to cover." But somehow Mare got into the chat. Oh, sorry. All right. So he says, "I can't tell you how to conduct your business, but it's a large city and a lot of ground to cover, and every minute counts. And so if I were you, I would split up and cover more ground. But I don't want to tell you how to do your jobs, so this is just a suggestion, but the more ground you cover, the faster you can get information." And then with that, he nods and says, Good luck in your quest. My castle gates will always be open to you, and at any point in time, if you need resources or a safe meeting point, my guards will let you through." And then he shuffles into the city and leaves you guys at the south gate.
How about a bed?
How about a what?
A bed.
Well, you are always welcome to come to my castle for respite. However, as I said, it's a big city. If you find that you're needing of somewhere to sleep or somewhere to eat, I did provide you with a handy map of inns that you might want to take refuge at. I mean, they're not only there for the information, they also have accommodations for you.
Cheap bastard.
He doesn't
He's not
dare
wrong.
to mention the fact that he gave you 2,000 coins and leaves.
We earned those 2,000 coins.
Yeah. All right, team. How shall we proceed?
Zoe and I are gonna head to the Nordling Friendly Bar, and then Aratuza.
Nordling Friendly Bar?
You mean the non-human?
What, Jesse?
You mean like the non-human bar?
Yeah, the one where we're not gonna be discriminated against.
Okay, yeah.
Divide and conquer.
All right, so that's 2 to the Cara Luna. I mean, I am inclined towards the unlaced corset.
That's where I'm heading. You coming, Adelina?
Well, do you want to be smart about like being able to split this up so we can hit as many as possible?
True.
Right. What else we have? Well, we don't have Minka. Actually, so Karen's clutch would be rough. Who's feeling reputable?
I'm gonna be hated pretty much anywhere I go, I feel like, so I don't think it matters.
Iroh, you're more than welcome to come along with us. You're probably a little less hated.
I'm trying to win some money now.
Well, perhaps then I have the gear left from that monstrosity in the basement. Minka and I could try some of the more reputable air quote dealers here in the market district and see if we find any leads that way. Offloading that. Riggs and Adelina can hit the unlaced corset. You three can hit the Cara Luana, and we rally at the castle.
You know what? I'll go
Aye, aye.
whatever's left over. Which one hasn't been opened yet?
You cut out.
I'm trying to figure out which bar doesn't have anything going to it at this point. So I'll just head there.
So you guys can keep talking. I won't influence you.
Sure. So I'm not going to a bar. I'm going to like the market district to see if there's any like back alley shenanigans that I could like offload that gear. And I think Phyrra and Zoe were going to the Luana.
Yep. And then the Aretusa.
Right. So I guess like maybe you could go to the Karen's clutch with Minka. But that'd be a bit of a gamble.
I'll just head to the Silver Heron, I guess.
Minka, I didn't want to decide for Amy, and I might let her retcon this, but I think she's gonna stick with you just because she'll probably be able to sniff out any back alley dealings, and she also wants to make sure you stay somewhat safe.
Okay. All right, go team, break, and just like raises the flask, takes another swig, and stuffs it into some unknown pocket.
Pace yourself, Beetlejuice. We got work to do.
Oh, you know me. Do my best. Work half a flask in.
Okay, so we have four separate entities. We have 2 people going to carry Luana. We have 2 people going to the Unlaced Corset. 2 people going to the Merchants District, and then Michael, you alone are going to check out the Silver Heron. Is that right?
That's correct, but I also had a quick question that I forgot about. You said we squared away our debt, so does that mean you have no money at this point?
I have, after that was squared up, if I did my math correctly, I have 142.
Okay, so Mike, we each got 285, and then Jesse, how much did you give me then?
I owed you 200, so I gave you 200 of my 285.
Mike, you have 576 coins.
Just trying to figure that out, and then if Jesse had nothing, I was going to help him out a bit, but he seems fine. So you said how much? Sorry.
I'm at. Oh yeah.
Mike,
you have 576. Jesse has 142.
Perfect. Thank
All right, let's go.
Okay. So you guys made this interesting by splitting into so many things. So I'm gonna keep this as interesting as possible, but you guys will well, you can figure out how you guys want to play this out, but you all start down the main road, which is I believe called the Circle Road, that main road through the center of Gorsvelen. I'm going to let you guys decide how you want to strike out. Now, each of you has a kind of rough outline of the map, but there was only the Duke provided you with one like really nice kind of calligraphied map, the one that he himself had annotated, and then there's a bunch of kind of like quickly scribbled hand-drawn copies. But who wants the really nice one? You guys probably should figure that out before you continue on.
I'm just going to say, since I'm going out alone, I should probably have a decent understanding of the city, so I would vouch for the nice map.
That seems wise.
That seems fair.
Yep.
So, Iroh, you will take the hand annotated map, the one that looks most like the one that I provided to you all. The rest of you guys have, it doesn't really have like alleys and streets annotated as much as kind of just big blocks. So you guys kind of know what the main streets are. But outside of that, any side streets or alleys they're not going to be annotated on your map, and so you won't really have a good idea of where they're heading. So that is the burden you'll have to bear. So the first place you guys come to, let's see. So the first place you guys come to is Town Hall, which, as I said, is one of the nicer districts. Not quite as grand as the Castle District, but a lot of lower level diplomats here. And Town Hall is kind of most marked by its enormous town center, where street performers often come, and people. It's mostly kind of a social circle. There's not a lot of trade or business done here, but there's a lot of street performers, a lot of kind of like, lower level nobles going about looking at things. There's maybe some food stalls. And on the far side of this large square is the town hall itself, which is a grand building that is half reconstituted elven ruin and half modern construction. And then to the right of town hall is the Silver Heron. So you guys arrive at this, and I'll let you guys decide what you want to do next.
Hasta luego.
Yeah.
Bon chance, my friend.
I'll nod to Adelina, and we'll kind of head off and I'll kind of start heading off in the direction of the corset place.
Hang on.
Oh wait, have we decided where we want to meet up when we're all done?
Thank you, Sara.
Rally at the castle by sundown?
Fair. Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Sounds reasonable.
Okay. So the rest of you guys can continue on. You're going to be continuing on that main road towards the crossroads at the middle of where the merchant district and the port district and non-human district edge. But meanwhile, Michael is going to make his way to the Silver Heron. So as Iroh is going to arrive there first, the Silver Heron outside, as I said, it's one of the most reputable inns in all of the continent. It's pretty widely known. So as you arrive there, you notice that there's stables for that can accommodate maybe 30 or 40 horses. There's a notice board posted outside, and a couple empty benches outside the tavern as well.
Alrighty, well, I'm going to walk on in.
Okay. As you walk into the bar, It looks pretty standard. There's, I mean, as far as bars go, just really, really nice. Kind of a friendly atmosphere, friendly and inviting. But there's basically nobody there. There's a long bar furnished with all kinds of wine and fancy looking glasses, and there's a man standing kind of before the bar, looking forlorn. But when he sees you, he perks up and approaches you. Welcome to the Silver Heron. How may I cater to you on this fine day?
Let's start with a pint of lager and a seat in the corner.
A pint of lager. Which lager would you like? Would you like the Koviri Standard? Would you like something from Hengforce? I just uncast something fresh from Redania. Came in this morning.
Whatever's cheapest.
Whatever's cheapest. Well, that would be the Hengfori stuff at all. It's quite delicate on the palate and delicate on your wallet as well, he says, and he guides you over to a table in the corner and makes off towards the bar.
Can I do an awareness check?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I got a 4.
Okay. So
that would be, I have an intelligence of 9, an awareness of 3, and then a 4 on top of that.
So as you look around, you notice that this bar is clearly fit for many people, but there's only one person here. And this person looks pretty heavily drunk. There's a couple of wine glasses out before him. He's maybe swaying in his seat a little bit. The bar is laid out around a stage. So there's tables and chairs, and there's a stage for music or poetry. And the stage looks conspicuously deserted, like it hasn't been occupied in a while. There's not, usually there's, from your bartending or bar going experiences, there's maybe stools there or discarded instruments or discarded pages, but there's nothing on this stage.
All right, so whenever the barkeep returns with my beverage, I'm going to ask him about why it's so empty and have I made a bad choice of coming to this establishment.
So the bartender hands you your drink. Would you like to start a tab, or will that be all for today? This is before you ask him anything.
I'll start a tab.
So he hands you, and he says, "What should I start the tab under?"
Doctor.
He raises an eyebrow and smirks a little bit. Okay, now ask what you're going to ask.
Just out of curiosity, why is this place seem so empty on such a fine day, and why is the stage so poorly kept up?
That, my dear doctor, is a fine question indeed. His voice sounds sad and angry. It's a bit of a tale. Well, here, let me join you and I'll explain. He leans over to the bar and gets a beer for himself and runs back. He says, "Well, normally I'd be bustling around this bar for clamoring to help patrons, but this is not a problem, and perhaps you'd like to hear why."
That is correct.
It's that bitch over at the Saffron and Pepper. He spits out the word bitch. I have been doing business for 30 years. I have made the Silver Heron the finest bar in Temeria. And nigh on 1 month ago, the Saffron and Pepper, that hoity-toity bar over in the Castle District, gets a new owner, an elf named Lena. Now, I didn't think anything of it at the time. Why would I? He's kind of ferociously glugging his beer while he's doing this. For such an austere-looking man, it's a little disjointed. No one would think anything of an elf elf bartender in the Castle District. That's not typically where you find elf bartenders. But before I could blink an eye, I found my own bar in disarray, and I had to ask myself why. For some reason, my musicians didn't show up one day. The next day, the cook didn't show up. Here, I'm to find that this woman over at the Saffron and Pepper had poached my best cook, made an offer that undercut my own fairly generous wages, and before I know it, my cook was gone. And my famous three-piece musician set, one of them was thrown in jail, the other hasn't been seen for 2 weeks, and the third, because of the disappearance of his partners, is up in his room here in this inn, constantly drunk, trying to write new songs for a solo act that is not gaining attention. She's poached all of my business.
Well, that's absolutely unfortunate.
I know, isn't it?
What do you plan to do about it?
Well, I mean, first of all, we have to get Bruno out of jail. Bruno being the musician of mine who is in jail. He is a celebrated flautist. He's known all throughout Temeria. He's also a raging adulterer. He cheated on his wife with some low-town trollop. Unfortunately, his wife is the sister of the city guard, and for this reason, Bruno was thrown into prison on trumped-up charges, and I can only assume that Lena was behind it. So getting him out of jail is clearly the first step. Unfortunately, I don't have the means right now to pay his bail. It's set ridiculously high, and I haven't had decent patronage in my bar in too long to justify paying his bail. You could also go try having a word with his other bandmates. If you can find them, the one's upstairs, the other, who knows where he is. My cook, I'm not sure how you'll try to get him back. He's quite the talent, but you'll have to convince him to come back and leave Lena's service.
And what of the drunk over there?
Him? Oh, he's just a regular.
He has had no opinion of all the changes of scenery?
Well, he's been coming here for 20 of the years that I've been serving, and he doesn't seem to be interested in moving too much farther east to get drinks that are just as good here as they are anywhere else.
We'll send a pint over to him for me and invite him over.
Very well. I shall do so, sir. Thank you for listening to my tale. So, okay, well, I'm gonna put a pause on that, Mike, while you're sending a drink over. At this point, the rest of you have arrived at the crossroads and are ready to split your separate ways.
Shall we head straight forward, Riggs, and go to the unlaced corset?
Let's go.
I guess Minka and I will peel off in search of a magic shop.
And Zoe and Phyrra will carry on towards an area of town where they're more accepted to start their investigating.
We're just gonna skip it out.
All right, so we're going to Jesse or Minka and Beetlejuice are going to peel off and wander towards the merchant district, while the others are going to continue on the main road towards the fish market district and the non-human district, where their bars of choice are found. So the non-human district is off to the east, and so as you guys peel off, the unlaced corset is pretty much right as you get into the fish market district. So Riggs and Adelina, you will arrive there while Zoe and Phyrra are going to peel off. The unlaced corset is almost a ludicrously tall building. It's 5 stories tall, but very thin. It's did we lose someone? It's we lost Mike. It's supported up on props, and there are all kinds of silk draperies hanging out of windows of all colors of green and red and purple, just hanging out of windows of this establishment. And the sign on the front literally shows an unlaced corset. You'll notice there's no real stables, but there are a few hitches for horses outside.
Sounds good. So do we just, I've never been to one of these before. Do we just knock on the front door or?
Just go in. And I just open the door and go in.
Okay. As you enter, you'll find this house of companionship is pretty fancy as far as houses of companionship goes. There are lots of fluffy cushions and couches and attractive females pretty much everywhere. There's kind of hors d'oeuvres being catered about on trays, as well as large flutes of fancy looking drink. As you to enter, a attractive looking redhead woman locks eyes with Riggs and says from across the room, "Oh, a witcher! It's been a while since we've had one of you at our establishment."
I'm just here for some information. I'm just here looking for some information.
She approaches kind of slowly. "What kind of information can I give you, sir? I know all kinds of things."
There's been a increase in the disappearances of young girls. One in particular. And I was wondering if you had any information about that.
She looks at you. Are you fucking crazy to be talking about that in my room? You're gonna kill the atmosphere. She gets behind you and kind of pushes you. She's like, "Over there. We'll talk in private." She points into a room that's closed off with a curtain.
Okay, I'll follow her.
Me too.
So this woman kind of looks around to make sure no one really heard that. Doesn't seem like most people were really paying attention. The few people that saw that you were a witcher kind of purposely averted their eyes, although maybe someone was looking. You won't know. She follows you in and says, "So what's this all about then? Most people know not to ask about nefarious deeds and disappearing women in the middle of a brothel."
I didn't know that this was such a quote unquote holy place that we couldn't talk about this.
Well, it doesn't do much good for business. It doesn't keep anyone going, if you know what I mean.
Listen, we're sorry for saying something in the lobby of your business. We just figured that of all the people in the city, that someone here would know and be the only people that would actually care about these young girls' disappearances.
She looks at Adelina appraisingly, like she appreciates what Adelina said a lot more than she appreciates what Riggs had said, and says, who are you? Why are you doing this? Who are you exactly? It's not often to see a witcher, certainly not a witcher looking into business that should have been sorted out months ago.
So you do know.
Well, of course I know. Everyone knows. It's not exactly a well-kept secret. They got one of my girls. Whoever the fuckers are.
My name is Adelina. And
I'm
this
Riggs.
Riggs. I kind of like smack Riggs to like be nicer. And I agree that this problem clearly should have been handled long before the attention was forced to be placed. But long before like the Duke's daughter was taken. That's the only reason that like it started to care. But we just want information to help all of the girls that have been taken.
I certainly can't give you information on all of the girls that have been taken. There have been close to 150 by my count. But, well, most people don't know this, but the first girl to be taken was out of my house. Her name was Erica. She was a good lass. She was, what was she? She scratches her head. About 17? About 17 when she was gone. She went up and never came back down. And the patron that we have all of our patrons sign out to make sure that if anything happens, they're held liable. Well, a man came in, man never came out, and when we went to investigate, both he and Erica were gone. Now, as you can see, this building's rather high. There's not a lot of stuff around it. It's hard to get in or out without outside of the front door. So we have no idea what happened. We looked and not seen sight of Erica since.
What did the man look like?
I don't know. I didn't see him. Erica was pretty good friends with Aenye. You might want to go talk to her, but unfortunately she's with a client right now, so you might have to wait. But I can tell you, after we brought her in, we haven't had any more disappearances. When she says her, it's very pointed.
Who is her?
Well, I would introduce you, but I'd be scared of what this witcher might do.
Do you have a succubus working here?
Might be I do, sir. Might be I do. She says with a kind of smirk. You know just as well as I do, succubi are magical creatures. They can sense magic. So we've been having her stay here to make sure no other magical hijinks have gone on. And we haven't had a girl lost since Erica. So you might call her a monster, but I call her a savior.
Look, I have no quarrels with intelligent monsters, as long as they don't cause problems.
Plenty of people call men intelligent, and yet most men are the worst fucking monsters you've ever seen.
Oh, you don't have to tell me.
Ayo.
Well, if you are here to help, I'll give you what you need. You can talk to Aenye when she's done. You can talk to Thuva too. That's our succubus. She's well, she kind of runs things here now, her and I. You're more than welcome to talk to either. My name's Shauna. It's a pleasure to meet you.
We'll go and talk to the succubus. If that's okay.
It's okay. All right, I'm gonna put you guys on pause real quick. Mike, I'm gonna go back to you.
Alrighty.
So you have you've sent a pint over to this drunken guy, and did you say you went over and joined him?
I invited him to come over.
Okay. He stumbles over and kind of says, "Well, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much indeed."
So what are you doing here when no one else is?
Well, I'm drinking. What does it look like I'm doing?
Can't you do that anywhere else with some better company?
Best company I keep is myself, sir. I'm not much of a conversationalist.
And why is that?
I don't like to talk. What do you mean, why is that?
I don't know if there was some deep dark secret that he hated people. I don't know.
Hate people? Oh, I love people. I'm just not very good around them. I tend to, get drunk and say stupid stuff.
So what are your feelings about everything leaving this place?
This bar, my good friend, was the best thing that happened to this goddamn city. Temerian over here had this place lively every night. It was the most fun, the best food, the best beer, the best wine. It had the best of everything. But then the food went away, the music went away. Fortunately for me, the beer stayed. I'd love to see this place get back to its former glory.
Any idea on how I can do that?
Well, you could always burn down the saffron and pepper. And Temerian, the host bartender guy, has been kind of sitting on a chair a little bit away from you, kind of watching the conversation. He smirks a little bit when the guy says to burn down the saffron and pepper.
Other than poaching some business, is there any real issue with that place?
Issue with the saffron and pepper? There's no issue with the saffron and pepper. It's the posh have-it-alls that go to the saffron and pepper that I have an issue with. They think they're better than everyone else, and to be honest, they are. But they never let you forget about it, and I just like to drink in peace without some rich diplomat shoving his money in my face.
Fair is fair. At this point, Mike, I'm going to pay my tab, bid them both thank you, and I'm going to head upstairs to find the other bandmate.
All right. Okay, I think that is a good place to wrap up for now, because we're missing Amy, and I'll leave you guys with this. As you guys are going along, so Madison and Zoe have kind of arrived at Carrie Luana, and we'll pick up with your storyline, and everyone can kind of continue. Jesse and Minka are wandering through, and they're looking for stuff down in the merchant district. So Jesse Beetlejuice insists on using the bathroom, and Minka kind of rolls her eyes and lets him wander down an alley to relieve himself. And then he doesn't come back. And Minka goes to look for him, and Beetlejuice has disappeared, and the only thing that's left of him is a flask. And so Beetlejuice has gone missing.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh no.
And that is where we will leave off our intrepid voyagers.
Beetlejuice, no.
Yes, I'm going to be out next week and possibly the week after. So this is a very convenient story device to accomplish that.
If I'm being perfectly honest, it's the one that I had planned anyway, just not at this specific time. But hey, you know what? That's what expediting things is all about, right?
Will you be able to play next week, Slyn?
Honestly, so Hannah and I are going on vacation, and I don't mind logging in to play.
We could try to next week to a shorter session so you're not away for too long, or we can leave it up to your call at the time as well.
Yeah. Han doesn't mind. She's bringing her PlayStation anyway. I'll have something to do.
Nice.
right. I will. I know this was a lot of new characters and places and things all at the same time, so I will definitely release campaign notes for those for people who inquired upon names or were introduced to names. I will be writing up campaign notes. But all right, you guys, we've started on Temerian Nights. I'm very excited. You guys are in for some treats, I hope.
Yes.
Woo woo.
All right, good night. We'll see you next week on Thursday.
Good night. Thanks, Mikey.
Yeah, y'all have a good one.
Good night.
Next time.
And good night to all of you. Thank you for watching. Tune in next week. Will we be able to find Jesse or Beetlejuice? Who knows? So definitely stay tuned for next week, and I'll see you all. I might do some Dark Souls tomorrow. We'll see, but definitely on Friday. So have a good night.